The Period Place Podcast.
Shark Week. Riding the cotton pony. Yeah. I have salsa in my taco. Yes.
Rag Week. Oh,
Rag Week.
Oh, that's bloody hell.
Bloody hell. Bloody hell, Harry.
The Period Place Podcast.
Thanks to our mates at You by Kotex.
Kia ora whānau,
Kia ora.
welcome. You thought you'd seen The Last of Us last time. Just jokes, we're back.
Can't get rid of us.
It's a little bonus episode, so we've got an episode 8. And the reason why we've done this is because the beautiful wahine that we had on board, Morgan Penn, our sexologist.
It was just too good.
We were only meant to speak to her for 15 minutes, but God, she speaks about so many amazing things, and there's just no way.
The conversation was flowing.
Yeah, and there's no way we could condense all this information into a healthy little snippet. You need to hear it all. So we've got a bonus episode, and this is just about reconnecting with your body. So basically, you've gone on a journey for 7 episodes with us. We've tried to open some doors for you, maybe give you some more knowledge. Maybe you've been able to ask some more questions about yourself. I don't know what it is. You're on the journey to connecting with your body.
Yeah.
So here we're going to connect even more. So any of those subjects that were maybe a little bit like, I'm too shy to talk about that. I'm a bit fuck-a-ma. All good. Because now we're going to just run it straight once again, but even more straight because we were Morgan Penn.
This is literally the straightest of the straight.
Yeah, she honestly does not hold back. She's very soulful. You I don't know how to explain her other
This
than
is
the
going to
fact
be
that
an
like
intense episode, but like we said before, it's not crass, but it's straight up. We're going to be talking about her role and her job as a sexologist. We're going to be talking about masturbation. We're going to be talking about some real shit here. So hopefully, the moments that you've had going, oh, that was a little bit awkward for the first 7 episodes, hopefully you've pushed through that awkwardness and you've stayed with us and you've learned because that's what we're here to help you do. Reduce the stigma in yourself, reduce the stigma out in society. And now you're ready to really jump on board with this episode and listen to it in its full form.
Yeah, 100%.
Like it deserves.
And I think that maybe learning more about your period and getting into that kind of nitty gritty stuff that's your first step in your connection with your body.
Yeah.
And maybe you're not ready to listen to Morgan yet, but when you are, that's when you can connect with the rest of it. You're finding your pleasure centers.
Yeah.
And I know that's a little bit of we don't talk about that. Yes, we do.
We deserve to.
Yes, because it's your body and you need to own that shit, sis.
Man.
Or bro, or
Yeah,
whoever you are, you need to own that.
Yeah.
You need to own it. So yeah, this
let's
is
go.
Morgan Penn, sexologist, your bonus episode. Let's go.
Hey, it's Danica here. Just before we start the podcast, You by Kotex believes a period should never hold you back, which is why, as well as keeping you covered and stress-free during your period, they're pumped to support us in smashing stigma and starting positive conversations to support people with periods. They also love the Period Place podcast and want you to know that you can catch replays along with more info on them and their products at You by Kotex, AUNZ, on Facebook, Instagram, or on their website. Thanks for the support, team. All right, back to the podcast.
Thank you for coming, Morgan. And do you want to just give us a little breakdown on what you do, your sort of journey to becoming this like a sexual therapist? I don't even know if that's the right word to use, but just give us your whole background.
Yeah, sure. Well, firstly, let me say it's such a pleasure to be here with you two. I guess I have always been really interested in sex. I've been really interested in the science behind it, the humanness of it, and the taboo-ness of it.
Yeah.
And so, we used to work together in radio and I loved it because I could be quite wild there.
Yeah.
And,
Is there anyone you haven't worked with? Half the guests on
know,
this
right? And also,
podcast are your mates.
Yeah, you always had a rep for being like out the gate. And it was great.
I mean, that's the thing. I was kind of counselling people on a
Yeah.
day-to-day in the office and talking about sex lives and in the kitchen, oh, did you get some last night? How was it? What position were you in?
It's always been your calling.
Yeah, exactly. And so then when I actually found out that there was a thing called a sexologist, I was like, oh my God, that's me.
Yeah.
Sign me up. And so I went down that route. I just quit and went straight into it.
Oh, wow.
I just went vulva deep straight away.
Yes.
And I just have not looked back.
Knee deep in vulva.
Exactly.
Wow, eh?
So, I certified earlier this year and we did the podcast, The Trainee Sexologist, which followed my journey, leaving radio and then studying and doing all the wild things that I had to do.
Yeah.
And because I'm a somatic sexologist, that means I don't just work on the brain stuff. It's not just talk therapy. It's integration with the body. So I can perform one-way touch on the body, including genitals.
Okay.
So
I'm excited to hear more about that.
yeah. I mean, to me, it's just an interesting thing because everybody talks, right? They feel like they go to therapy for years and they talk and talk and talk. But to me, sex is in the body. We do it. It's a thing. So why are we not working with the body? We
Yes,
hold
queen.
things in the cellular memory. So
100%. Like, I remember when you first had the conversation with us just before you left MediaWorks and decided to go on this journey, and you were talking about things like vaginal mapping, anal mapping, which I'd never, ever heard of before. I was like, what even is that? Do you want to kind of explain that kind of concept for anyone who has no idea what that is like me?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So, well, then I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
Have you ever taken a mirror out and had a look at your vulva and vagina?
No.
Yes.
You have? Fantastic.
I knew you would have.
Well, most vulva owners haven't.
Yeah.
It's so taboo down there. We're just not connected in. It just seems like the genitals are a different part of our body. You know, the only times we see it really are in the shower, getting dressed, or if we're getting sexual with somebody else.
Yeah.
When we're getting sexual with ourselves, we don't even look at it, you know?
It's under the sheets with the lights off.
Yep, exactly. And so there's no real reverence and honouring of that part of our body. And so when I perform like a vulva mapping or vagina mapping, it's about making that connection with the full body, the mind, the integration, and it's non-agendered touch. So not many people have been held in a safe, loving space where their bodies have been touched in a way. It's either sexual or clinical, you know?
Yeah.
So for me, it's
Either having sex in
explorative.
bed or it's a pap test.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much,
Exactly.
right?
Or if you're crazy, having sex on the kitchen bench and then the pap test. Da-na-na-na-na.
So I guess for me, when I'm working with these vulvas and these women that are attached to it, it's just this beautiful moment where we get to touch and I get to say to them, you know, what are you noticing in your body at this time? What can you feel? What's going on? What's the sensations? And the amount of time where it's numb, they can't feel anything. And so we hold a lot of tension in our vagina. We're reciprocal, you know, we're receptacle, sorry. And it's we hold tension, stress, trauma, all sorts of stuff. So going in there, feeling those tense muscles, I can do a bit of a de-armoring, relaxing, breath work, and yeah, it's just about connection.
If someone was to come and have a session with you or multiple sessions with you, what is there like a sort of common end goal? Like, are they trying to just reach the best orgasm, or is it just trying to get to know your body and be more connected with your body? Is everyone different?
Everyone's different.
Okay.
They come to me for a range of reasons, but ultimately it is about a reconnection with your full body and yourself and pleasure.
Love that.
Yeah.
Not to be stereotypical on the whole male, female, you know, binary terms, but I do feel like it is a legit type of thing when they say that for a woman to have an orgasm, she's got to have 50 boxes ticked.
Yeah.
And so doing that, finding those spaces within yourself that work, that don't work, that's got to be really powerful, getting that control back over your body rather than maybe just being in a position with somebody and them accidentally, you know, touching something that works and you're going, wait, there, hold that, to actually know what's going on so you can control it a little bit more. It's got to be really empowering and really, really, beautiful for yourself.
Yeah, you know, you're spot on. And that's the thing, like, especially if we've had trauma down there, which most women have, you know, we don't get out unscathed in some form. And that can be rewired, like, neurologically to the brain as a pain centre instead of a pleasure centre. Right. So with this kind of touch and curiosity that we bring to that space, we can rewire it back to a pleasure centre.
Do you work with victims of sexual assault or sexual trauma in particular?
Well, it's a funny one. I'm trauma informed. I'm not trauma trained. So I have to be very, very careful about that. But I am working with like one client at the moment, but she's not in a triggered state.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
we've you know, she's actually seeing a counsellor as well.
Yeah.
So I can support her body while somebody else is supporting her on a psychological level.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was assaulted multiple occasions as a child, as a little girl, and as a teenager, and some of the situations are still triggering to me. I'm married, I've got kids, my husband and I have been together for 13 years, and yet sometimes we can be, it can be, I can just be doing something in the kitchen and something throws me back, and it's like my privates. It's like my stomach does a flip and my vagina just suddenly, you know, hang on, to get in the microphone, just boom, locks down, like a gate comes down. And that can just be walking along or in the kitchen or doing nothing or seeing something, or it's like a smell or a trigger, and it's like boom, being back to a kid and being in that situation. And it's about the the loss of control and having things happen to me. But it can also be like if we're in bed and we're having a cuddle and something just goes boom and the gate comes down. And it's a real like, hang on. That happened 20 years ago. You're safe. You're in a warm, loving house. You know, it's New Zealand. The house isn't that warm, but mostly in a warm, loving house.
Yeah.
You know, so and I've been in therapy for years and years going through, you know, those situations and talking them out. So for people who haven't been in a decade of therapy and haven't done all that talking to get it out, I can just imagine, you know, without all that help, how hard it must be. Because for me, sometimes the gates still go down and I've had all the work.
Yeah. Oh, I really hear you, and I want to acknowledge your bravery in sharing that, and I'm really sorry that happened to you. And
so am I.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
That's like actually got me a bit like, shit.
It's shit. It's and
It fucking happens, man. It happens to kids all the time. It happens for me it was like, it was like a neighbour's cousin and it was a blah, blah, blah. And, you know, it was always people who were around. I never had a stranger do it to me. It was always someone who was just right there, and I had mates who things were done by their family members and parents, and it's so, Teeks.
No, it's all right. It's just like, God, why am I crying? Oh, my gosh.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, just the fact that you shared that, just like so casually and so normally, I love that because, like, I've had my own experience and, you know, it was actually a stranger and it's like something I don't really remember, and like it only happened a couple of years ago, so it's like something that I've been working through, but I've never been in a space where I can just like talk about it like it was nothing, you know, or not nothing, sorry.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, this is what's happened to me, this is my shit.
It's about owning the experience.
Yeah. So like I want to acknowledge, like, thank you for like just saying that. So like, fuck.
Now I'm sweating everywhere and crying.
Darling.
But I 100% understand that whole, like, the gates just coming down sometimes, and even though, like, I feel like I've got to a space where I really have been able to, like, I don't know, own my vagina again. And I'm like, yeah, no, this is mine. I don't feel ashamed of it anymore. I don't feel ashamed of having sex. I don't feel gross anymore. I don't feel like damaged goods or whatever. It's still something that we work through all the time. And I think it is something like, if you've gone through some kind of trauma like that, we should be able to work through it.
Yes.
And like, it should be normal that we're allowed to talk about it and be like, no, this is not always a safe space for me, but oh God.
I'm really excited to. I'm coming in. I'm booking in with you. I really like I said to you off air before a few minutes ago. I keep saying off air like this is like I'm on the radio, off podcast. I've been talking to multiple people in my life about this, women from their 20s to their 70s, talking about you in this interview that we were going to be doing and how excited I was about it, because the opportunity to reconnect, even if I hadn't have had all that shit get in the way, just the opportunity to learn about myself. I mentioned in previous recordings that I grew up in what I think was a pretty woke feminist household. My mum was always, you know, teaching me what legit happened with myself and other people. There was no euphemisms and no bullshit stories. But I still hid my first period from her because I'd internalized the shame from society. I still hid things from myself. I still, even though I've always been a loud, strong person who defended my friends' rights in the playground, you know, against bullies and, you know, stood up for people all throughout my life. When it comes to my body and myself, I've internalized heaps of taboo and heaps of shame and heaps of stuff, and I have not been practicing what I preach when it comes to my body.
Right. And what you're both sharing about the power being taken away, that is a big piece of work that I do with my clients, because it's a reclamation of our body, you know, and what we don't do well in our society is sequencing trauma. So the whole thing about the somatic stuff is like, imagine a zebra, right? It's getting chased by a lion. It manages to get away from the lion. The moment it gets to a safe place, it shakes. It shakes. It gets it all out. It gets rid of all this energy that's come in, that's flooded its body to make it run as fast as it can for survival. And it shakes it out, and then it goes and eats grass. Like nothing happened, because it sequenced it all out of its body. Whereas humans, we've got all this trapped emotion. We've got this brain that's telling us all these different stories, and we never sequence the stuff out.
Yes.
We suppress yawns, sneezes, farts, burps because it's rude, it's not right. We don't stretch and move like our body's meant to because, why is she moving around? Why is she doing that weird movement? Do you know what I mean? Like our bodies are meant to move and do things naturally. The fetal position is the biggest piece of safety that when you've had a rough day, like what do you want to do? You want to get in bed and just go like that. And that's our body telling us. It's body wisdom. And we just don't listen to our bodies anymore. So that's what I do. I drop people back, bring them embodied, get them grounded, get them listening.
What are you doing this afternoon?
Are we making an appointment?
You just want me to call my husband and say I'm not coming home.
Perfect.
Since we're the whole theme of this podcast, I suppose, is like periods and stuff like that. So in your work, obviously, you're working with people to sort of own their bodies again and really connect with their bodies. But even when someone is having, I don't want to say a raging sex life, but maybe like amazing, beautiful sex life, do you find that they still feel shame in having a period though? You know what I mean? Yeah. Oh, is that something you have to work through with your clients at all?
I only with one actually.
Okay.
Because I do a lot of coaching about mindful masturbation, and this is something that normally comes up. Oh, I got in 3 days into it, but then I got my period. I'm like, okay, so to talk me through what that means to you, having a period in your body. Why does pleasure stop? You know? So it is definitely a taboo that's sitting there. It's gross. That area is out of action now. No way, no go zone.
Interesting that it's out of action for self, because you'd think that the taboo and the shame would be around, I don't want my partner to see the blood because I don't want my partner to think I'm disgusting. That's in our minds where we've pushed it to, but really it's our shame that we're holding, because if we don't want to masturbate on our period, there's nobody else there that you can blame for that but yourself. But it's not that we're blaming ourselves.
Yeah, but I swear you're so much your hormones are going crazy on your period. That's when you want it the most, right?
Wow, yeah. I mean, for some people, absolutely, because they're hormonally there is a spike in testosterone that happens.
Yeah.
But there's also during ovulation, which is biologically when we should be more horny, because that's when we're most fertile.
That's how I got tricked into my last pregnancy. I was like, this is really weird, because I take antidepressants. Again, I've been on them for years. I've gone on and off them, but it's something that I need to be on every day.
Yeah.
To level me out and keep me going. And after the birth of my first son, I got my period back when he was 10 months, and it came once, and I've got polycystic ovaries. So I've always had 3 or 4 periods a year, never had them once a month. And so I've always kind of known that, if I'm going to ovulate, I'm ovulating, every 4 or 5 weeks or whatever, not every, not in a 4-week scale. It's, I don't know. I can't do the math right now. I've had 1 coffee this morning. I need 17 before I can talk. But I had my period, and then 2 weeks later I was like, I'm in the mood to have sex. This is weird, because my antidepressants suppress my sexual appetite, and I've really got to be in the mood. I don't just wake up and I'm like, this is weird. I feel like I'm in the mood. And I was having this whole conversation in my head, I'm in the mood. And then the other side's going, yeah, but it's you got other things to do. You could read a book. You could put the washing on, it's but I'm in the mood. I haven't been in the mood in years. And come on, just do it. And I'm in the mood. Just do it. And so we did it.
Yeah.
And then a couple of weeks later, found out I was pregnant. And I was like, what the fuck?
Wow.
How am I pregnant? And then I was like, and I said to my friends, I feel like I kind of tricked myself. I feel like raped is not the right word in this context, but I feel like I did something to myself that I wasn't aware I was doing, because it was my hormones. I was ovulating. I was in the mood. That's what made me do the action. And then I bloody ended up pregnant. And there ended up being a whole trajectory. I got antenatal depression, got massive PTSD from getting pregnant. But yeah, it was just, I had never felt such a strong feeling within myself since 10 years before I went on the pill. That feeling of, whoa, this feels nice for no reason. I look at my husband.
There's
I
a little
love him.
heartbeat down there.
There's a little heartbeat. What's she doing? Yeah. It was incredible. It was so powerful.
Wow. Yeah, the body is incredible.
It's amazing, yeah.
It's interesting you were talking about being on antidepressants. I was on them for a little bit, and the reason I got off them is because we had no drive, no sex drive, no nothing. And it was really hard. At the time I was in a relationship, and it did affect it a bit because I felt I was still attracted to him. I still wanted to, but it was like in order to not feel so shit, I had to take these, but then it was kind of affecting other parts of my life. So I ended up
you can't enjoy other types of pleasure.
Yeah. So I went off them and was just trying to find any other method that was less unnatural, I
Yep.
suppose,
Yep.
to try and make me feel better and like filling your cup and all that kind of stuff. So that works for me now. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, she feels again, you know?
Oh, yeah.
But
nice.
I liken it when being on antidepressants to the idea of having an orgasm. It's like a train being in a tunnel, and you know what's the train and you know what's the tunnel, and
Gotcha.
and but it's like the end of the tunnel is where the orgasm is, and it's like the train keeps moving, the train keeps moving, the train keeps moving, but the back of the tunnel keeps moving.
Yeah.
And you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and you're almost there, and you can feel it, but for some reason, it's like a cartoon or whatever where the back of the tunnel just keeps moving and moving and moving and moving and moving, and you just end up going, all right,
I give up.
stop the engine, turn around, go back the other way.
100% agree. And even if you do kind of reach it, it's like not the destination you were hoping for.
Nah.
Yeah.
It's like a bit of a flat balloon.
That's why I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
I'm off. I'm throwing them in the bin.
Yeah, I have a lot of people reach out on antidepressants.
Yeah.
And I just, quite often, it's like we get to a point where it's like, well, this is what is best for your body at the moment. This is this is your priority. Like, get yourself
Totally.
feeling good. That's
Yeah.
what's important here. But in saying that, when you're talking about like that goal of getting to the end of that tunnel, like that's the thing, we're so goal orientated about an orgasm. Like, we need to get there.
Yeah.
And this is what we become fixated on. And so that's a big piece that I do to my clients. I'm so cruel. I say, what would happen if we took away the orgasm? You know? No, I need the orgasm.
If we took away the orgasm, I feel like it would be what most sex in your 20s is for a woman.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still there. Still there. It is what it is.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is the thing, right? We don't explore enough. We don't get curious about each
No.
other's bodies. We don't.
It's the end game.
Yeah, that's right. So we don't look at different erogenous zones, and we don't, dive deep and try different things. And
Oh, have you seen that Friends episode the famous Friends episode where it's is it Chandler or Monica Chandler or Joey is trying to map out the areas. One of the boys on the show's got a new girlfriend, and the girls jump in and they're like, right, we'll help them, and they name all the zones. So like there's like 8 zones, and Chandler's like, there's 8 zones.
Yeah.
And then they're like, yeah, so you start them with a 1, and then you go a 1, 2, 4, and then a 4, and then a 5, 6, 9, and then a 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 7, and then a 4, 2. And it's what are the 3 girls? Rachel, Phoebe and Monica. And they're all sitting there on the couch going, and the guys, look it up on the internet.
will.
It's so funny. Yeah, that always makes me think, I'm like, God, I don't know half my zones.
Nah, neither. I feel like I've never actually taken the time. I feel like that's more like a relationship space. But I think I'd love if but
should
that's
be a
kind of
safe
that's kind of
space.
the
disagreeing. No.
yes, that's kind of the assumption, right? But I feel like it should be more normalized. That even if you're having just like casual sex with someone, or even if you're even if it is a one night stand, be like, no, this has got to be for both of us, and like,
Yes,
let's take the time.
absolutely.
It's
And
not
if
just
you
a
know
little
yourself,
pump, rump, and dump,
If you've done it yourself, then you
Dump.
can have, that nice casual sex can
Yeah.
still be really like juicy and good and
Yeah.
pleasureful.
Yeah.
One of the podcast episodes that I did that has become a famous quote was, I was rubbing my nipples on my wrists. This has become a thing. Like,
Oh my
fans,
gosh.
like, love it.
Yeah.
And that was when I was exploring my own body
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
just this way. And honestly, I stood there and like had some form of a body orgasm of
Amazing.
just the softness of the inside of my wrist and the stimulation on my nipples, which aren't normally very sensitive.
Yeah.
I was like, God dang, bang-a-rang. Like, I'm going to get a boy to do something real weird around that next time I'm with
Because
a
for you,
man.
that feels great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there other like different stuff where you've just been, I don't know, like exploring different sensory points where you haven't actually touched your private area, where you have been like stimulated sexually, and apart from like the wrist nipple thing, has there been other times where you've been like, oh, that works too?
Yes, an orgasm. I've never had an orgasm
a what now?
before. Oh my gosh.
Break it down.
Heavy breathing.
I should have bought my notepad.
Right. Yeah.
I'll draw a diagram for you if you like. Yeah, the nibbling, the sucking, the talking dirty, the licking, the tugging on the earlobe. Oh my God,
My toes are curling over.
yeah. And I've never felt before that what I would call an orgasm. It had always been genital focused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My whole body, my tummy had butterflies and was convulsing. And yeah, I was juicy. It was great.
That sounds so. The word empowering to me does my head in because it's such a oh, I'm empowered.
Yeah.
Yay. But it is. That must be so empowering to just feel yourself in your body in such a strong way that's not from somebody else being inside you, from hands or penises or toys or something else. It's just purely you.
It was a game changer. Yeah, it was beautiful.
I think like men really, they don't really understand the concept that you can actually have an orgasm without penetration. Like, do you know what I mean? I think that's something we need to normalize. You don't actually have to do this and it's like, that's not working, mate. That little finger bang and whatever you're doing, like, it's not working.
Yeah, I agree.
Orgasm. I love that. I love that so much.
So when it comes to periods and what you do, do you get people, you touched on before, you've had some clients say, oh, my period started at day 3 of this mapping exercise for myself, so I stopped. What do you say to your clients who have those shame feelings around periods? Do you tell them to push through? Do you does it depend on the person? How do you help people get through that?
Yeah, it's never a push through. It's always about honouring the body and what feels safe and good for them. But I try to encourage them to go on a journey of exploration. So starting to look at the blood, smell the blood, become familiar with it, so that it's not this gross thing. I mean, there's lots of sort of women in my field that work a bit more spiritually and a little bit more dive pretty deep with that stuff, and they will free bleed on the earth or collect their blood and then use it in manifestation rituals, and they'll put it on their third eye, they'll rub it on their womb space. I mean, I've done stuff like this because I think it's important to feel it all and experience it all.
And understand the spectrum.
Yeah. I mean, there was this one woman that about 4 years ago I was following, and she had painted from her menstrual blood her partner all over his face, body.
Wow.
And it was just this like...
That's intense.
Yeah, full on, apparently just him worshipping her and her femininity.
Wow.
And I thought, I mean, I don't know about that, but I'm
become one.
What about people that aren't in that sort of spiritual space? So I think about like when it comes to belief systems, because not everyone believes anything, right? Like not anyone has to believe anything, but I definitely lean toward more a spiritual space. So I can kind of understand that. Not that I've ever done it or whatever, but I can kind of understand it. What about someone who might sit in like a more religious space? Is there a way that they can get spiritual without thinking it's like against their like initial beliefs? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I guess if we even just took out any kind of beliefs and just came back to the body and on a body level and just accepted and had almost like this amazement and love for what our body is doing, is probably the most powerful thing that you could do.
Yeah.
To me, I think, God, how incredible is our body that every month it creates this little home for a baby. It's so hopeful. Like, if you don't believe in hope, that is hope.
Yeah.
You know?
can do it.
Yeah, and then if there's no sperm to meet that little egg, then we shed and we grieve. And so our body is actually feeling that as well.
Yeah.
And so I think it is just about coming back to what's actually happening at that time. It's a big thing for a body to be going through. So, yeah, you might not feel sexy, or because of the flow of blood that's going in there, which will set off all your pubic bowl nerves, you can feel a lot more sensitive. And with sensitivity can come arousal. So it's just about accepting everything that's going on for you at that time.
And if you feel like it, after that acceptance, if you feel like it, doing something, learning something, going down a path.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about this before. We're really big at the Period Place about accepting your period however you want to. If you want to have a hysterectomy, if you want to take the pill to, take it every day of the week, every day of the year, so that you get rid of it, that's fine. Through to free bleeding out in the full moon, in the full moon, and just being with your naked self. Anything on that spectrum is fine. But even if you are at this, bottom end where you don't want it to be there needs to be an understanding about what it is before you can push it away.
Yeah.
Yes.
You shouldn't be pushing it away because of
Beautiful.
any kind of shame, right?
Yeah.
It should be like, no, I accept what it is, but don't feel like it.
Yeah.
That's not what I want. Yeah.
But that power and that accepting it first and learning about everything and understanding it, and then making an informed choice about why you're getting rid of it.
Yeah, I like that. And also being open to changing. Like you might feel different one month to what you did the previous month.
Yeah.
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 I love that.
So,
This has been a real roller coaster.
what was your first period like?
Oh my gosh, it was scary. Yeah, my mum was a real open, hippie, a little bit hippie. you
Yeah.
know, and I didn't want to tell her. Like I was like, this is sort of mine. But
Really?
also I was like, I need some help,
Yeah.
like what do I
Yeah.
what do I do? So I remember telling her and she, oh, you're a woman now and it's a big thing. But I remember being so shitty the day before and being like, this isn't me. Like, what's wrong with me? And then the next day finding blood and being like,
Oh, it all
God,
makes sense now.
this is the worst thing in the world,
Yeah.
And mum was like, you can have a little Midori to celebrate.
Oh my God. I love your
Oh,
mum.
I don't think I've heard the word Midori since I was about 16. Shit, that's brilliant.
I know. And then she got a cake and told all the neighbours, I was like,
Oh,
my
Morgan's
God.
a woman now. Oh, for fuck's sake. Come on.
I
Well,
love
we're
that.
gonna go out and have a Midori after this to celebrate the episode.
But no, it was fine, and I'm really lucky. I've had an interesting journey. I've never had anything too horrendous. But I actually, when I did start having really painful periods about 5 years ago, is what actually set me on a real connection journey with my body. And
Wow.
what set me on this journey of being like, I want something more. There's more to this body. There's more to pleasure. There's more to all sorts. And I felt like my womb space was communicating with me and I hadn't been listening. I'd been plugging it up with tampons. I'd been taking painkillers. I'd been going to the gym still at 5 o'clock in the morning when I was heavy bleeding.
Yeah.
And like,
Hashtag living your best life.
yeah. And now I cancel appointments and on my heavy day, I will eat whatever the hell I want. I will just treat my body with reverence and I just don't care what anybody else thinks.
There's a book by Maisie Hill. She's a UK author. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but she talks about the 4 seasons of your menstrual cycle. And it was really amazing. She breaks it down to like summer is the week where you've got heaps of energy and you're like, yes, living my best life. Everything's great. I'm 20 years old in a 2-piece bikini and I have like no qualms. And then there's what comes up, autumn. And autumn is like, when you're starting to feel a little bit like you want to close down, and winter is you with your period and what you need to do like you do in winter time. You wear, lots of clothes, you rug up, you quieten down, things soften. And then there's spring again when you start to awaken. And she said that when she mapped out her seasons and her time and everything, and then she would book in her meetings and she shifted her whole work life around her cycle and what was going on so that she could have big pictures with clients in the summer week when she knew she was going to be on it. And then in the winter week, it was more like I just stay in the office and do paperwork and that sort of shit.
The book's called Period Power.
Period Power.
Yeah. Shout out to our producer.
Shout out to our producer. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds
Yeah, I
amazing.
really relate to that. I think
Yeah.
that's, a really nice way to honour your body and the different feelings instead of suppressing everything. Because we are. Like, that's the incredible thing. We
How
do
do you-
change week to week.
Ever go to the gym at 5 a.m.? What the fuck?
Oh, God, I don't do that. I mean, I was talking that up. It would have been.
It would have been 5:35 at least.
That would have been about, 5 years ago.
I don't hate going to the gym on my period because I'm so like, no, I'm not letting it stop me from like living my life. But then I wonder if that's like I wish I didn't have it. Like I'm still going to the gym, but I'll always take it a bit more easy.
Good.
If I'm going to the gym, I don't go as hard because I
Don't
feel
sit
like
on the rowing machine and
No, well, I mean,
pump out.
I'm very competitive. So like, and I'm like real close with all my trainers as well. So when they come in, they always like push me just a little bit harder than everyone else because they know I'm like, they never let me go with my friends. They make me go with people that are like better than me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't like the idea of it stopping me from doing what I normally do. But also I like how you were saying that you just need to acknowledge that I need to listen to my body and just be like, hey, maybe I need a break today.
I wonder how much that I don't want to stop it and let it control me is a thing of wanting to be in control of your body.
Probably. I'm a control freak.
And I would say we've been conditioned, right, as women, like to get to climb the top of the ladder, we have to,
We have to
show
lean
up.
in.
We have to show up
Yeah.
all the time. We can't use that. If we want equality, we can't use periods or children as a thing that we can't show up for
That's
something.
I find that so frustrating.
It's like that I feel like there's just like this like, and it's been drummed into us like growing up, there's like a weakness associated with a period where
Yes.
there shouldn't be. And that's maybe why I'm like, no, well, I can still do it. because I'm like, I don't want a man to think, oh, you're on your period. Oh. I'm like, yeah, maybe I am. Bitch, I might be. But I'm still out here doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I know by the end of when I was leaving radio and I used to walk through the office with my tampon, just going to the toilet.
Yeah.
Because for years I used to hide it up my sleeve. And so then I was on this like crusade to like openly share with everybody. This is a tampon. I'm bleeding from my vagina. Let's go.
That's all it is.
I love that
No
energy.
big deal.
What would your advice be for people who are about to embark on their period journey? They're about to have their first period and maybe the parents of those people. How do we create a safe space where we're so spiritually in touch with our periods and our bodies and making it a safe space rather than it being a journey that you go for like 10, 15, maybe 20 years to finally get to that place of like comfort? How is it a space straight away? How do we make it that?
I mean, it's interesting, right? For parents, I think it's about cultivating that communication the whole way through that child's life so that anything that's happening with their body, they feel safe enough to talk to their parents about and that their parents give them the honest, truthful answers. So the onus is on the parents to be really skilled, like upskill on what's going on so that that child or that young person knows exactly what is happening in their body, why it's happening. I mean, knowledge is power and I just don't think we get educated on what's actually happening. And I think, penis owners don't get taught really what can be happening for, vagina owners. And so they don't have a depth of understanding of the changes that are happening as well, And so then I think for that person that is about to start their bleed, it is about having that reverence and love for the body and to know that it is not shameful, that it is something that is happening to your body. It's a biological thing, the gifts that it can bring to the world, and that there are options out there and there are things to support the body, the mind, everything that's happening at that time. So, it comes back to communication and I think everything comes back to pleasure for me. But it is how do we find pleasure in a different way at that time? If your body is feeling out of whack, out of sorts, is it self-massage or is it booking in for a massage or is it, having long baths, for these young people, their lives are about to change, a bit differently and how they support the blood coming out of them, that's a big piece. And luckily we've got quite a few good options nowadays that, wasn't there when I started bleeding. And supporting that because things can change, right? You might not want to swim or like for Māori, that's quite a tapu thing. You're not meant to swim when you're bleeding. There's all sorts of things that need to be covered off, but it just comes back to talking and just compassion and love to me. That's what it's about.
Do you think for parents there's a confusion around if my kid gets their period, the flip side of that coin is my kid can start having sex and having a baby now, so I'm not going to teach my kid.
Yeah, I do think there is that sort of irrational belief. But to me, it does come back to that knowledge is power. It's the same as why people are afraid to teach children about pleasure because they think they're going to go out there and start shagging anything that's walking. But that's just not what happens. If we actually teach our children or ourselves how to self-pleasure, then sex and pleasure becomes our own responsibility, so we don't necessarily go looking externally for it. So if that got
it's actually
taught,
safer.
It's way safer. Because that's a thing when we've got our rangatahi, the youth, that they're having all these hormones flushing in, and they're horny, they don't know what to do about it.
And we need to be honest.
And so they think, they have to go out and get somebody else to rub
take
them
care
out
of that.
Instead of exploring their own bodies and realizing that their pleasure is their responsibility.
I always heard a term growing up that not growing up, this is like later teenage years. I wasn't hearing this really young, but you can never love someone else until you love yourself in the sense of in a pleasure way. Like you're never going to feel pleasure from a sexual act unless you're actually exploring yourself and know what to do for yourself. So like when my friends were off, when I was younger, having sex and I'd be like, have you ever touched yourself before? And they're like, oh God, no, why would I ever do that? And it was like, well, how are you getting any pleasure out of this sex if you don't even know what works for you and what works for your body? So I feel like that's a really important conversation to have. You need to actually figure out what you like before you go off into the world, into the abyss of sex, you know?
Absolutely. And young children touch themselves and their genitals because it feels good.
And young children, not of period age.
Yes.
Like my 2-year-old sit there in the bath and has a little play. And my 1-year-old sits there and he's like, oh, what's this, you know?
Yeah.
Where did that, has that always been there? Mum, like the way he looks at me, like, where did that bloody thing come from?
So we chucked some questions out to the people who have periods, who follow the Period Place journey, at the Period Place, if you don't follow them on Instagram and Facebook. One of the questions and one of the responses was, if a guy asks me if I'm on my period, what is my response? What should my response be?
Well, I guess it depends on the context of why he's asking or how he's asking. And I mean, to me, that is sacred information. That's up to you whether or not you want to share that. I mean, it depends. Is it about getting sexual? You know, is it about...
Or is it if you're moody? And I'm saying that
Are
in
you on your
quotation.
period?
Are you on your period?
And in that case, fuck you. None of your beeswax. I don't know.
Yeah. But either way,
Either way,
it's your information. I like that. It's your information to share. You can choose to share it or not. And if you are on your period and you're still interested in having sex, what's something that you can say, like, can you give some words for some people to build off themselves?
Yeah, sure. Well, yeah, I mean, it can be as simple as, yes, I am bleeding at the moment. I'm on day blah, blah, blah. To me, that's, you know, kind of light or, you know, and I would still be keen to explore some sexual goodness with you. I mean, shall I tell you a funny story?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I took a guy home once. I didn't know him very well.
Yeah.
We'd spent the whole night talking, and he told me he was a feminist and blah, 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 blah.
He told me he was
Love
a
that.
feminist.
So, you know, swoon.
Yeah.
And then I said to him, look, I'm not going to take you home, you know. So, oh, please, you know, really, you know, I just really connecting with you. I'd love to spend the night with you. I was like, all right, you can come home. We'll have a snuggle. And anyways, we're getting hot and heavy with the pashing. And then he said, I really want to, like, go down on you. And I said, oh, well, actually, I've got my period, so I don't feel very sexy down there at this point. And he said, I don't care. Like, I really don't care about that. And I was like, oh, you don't care? That's interesting. And I was like, well, I think I care. I was like, hang on, let me have a think about this. And I didn't have the skills that I have now. You know, this was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And he said, let me prove to you how much of a feminist I am.
Oh!
And I thought, all right.
Okay, let's go.
You're on. You're on, big
ding,
boy.
ding, ding.
Let's do this.
Holy shit.
And that was a real game changer for me as well, because it was like,
Yeah.
I had to, I was so horny, you know, we'd spend all this time connecting and pashing and then just the surrender of letting this man go down while I was bleeding. It was amazing.
Wow.
We're still like really good friends.
Yes, queen.
The next day he wrote a poem about it and put it on Instagram.
Oh my God.
Whoa.
Where did you find him?
This guy is
At a Bruce Springsteen concert.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
born in the USA. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a
so
story.
I
That's
just
awesome.
think, you know, with
There's a
things
whole
like that,
range of people out there.
just you have to really honor yourself and be curious.
Yeah.
You know, don't make a blanket rule that that sex is off the table.
It's like blowjob week, right? That's what everyone thinks.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like sex, most people think means penis and vagina. It's you know, but to me, sex is so
Or if you're
broad,
lesbian, scissoring.
You know?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, the
No, remember we debunked that. That's not a thing.
It's not a
Not a thing.
Doesn't feel good, does it? That friction.
All right. On that note, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you so much, Morgan, for coming through. I think your energy is just everything, and the way you talk about periods and sex and just vagina owners and owning their shit and just being one with their body, their mind, their soul, everything. I think it's amazing. For anyone who wants to find Morgan and her services, do you want to give yourself a little plug?
Yeah, sure. I think the easiest way at the moment is just on Instagram. So at Morgan_Penn, that's where you'll find me.
And how do we spell pen?
Penn?
There we go.
Not like the Bic one.
No.
So Morgan.
No, but my mum wanted to call me Scarlet, but my dad wouldn't have it because then I'd be
Scarlet.
Red Pen.
Wow, there
but
you
that
go.
would have fit.
I know. Kind of like, I sort of thought about a sexy alias.
Yeah.
Scarlet Pen. Scarlet. Anyways, sorry.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wow, Morgan Penn, everybody. Am I right?
You are right.
She honestly, when I used to work with her, she used to leave me so speechless with just how the chat that she would have, and I'd just be like, oh my god, like, are we really talking about this right here in the kitchen in front of everybody? But I love that that confidence in herself and that confidence she gives other people and being able to talk about these things. So, oh wow, I'm thanking you, Morgan, personally. Okay, I'm thanking you, and I hope that everyone else out there that maybe is a little bit, whakama with all that stuff, that maybe you feel a little bit like that little sigh of relief that we got there, But
check her out online. Book in with her. Get going, get exploring.
Yeah.
Stop
She's
wasting
so good.
time. There's one time you have on this planet. Don't waste it sitting at home by yourself, worried about what other people are going to think about you or your body.
She's 100% one of those people. You could be a total random. You don't even have to have any mutual friends with her. But if you sent her a message, sent her a DM and asked her something, she will be the first to reply so quickly. So thank you so much, Morgan, for joining us for this cheeky bonus little treat that we got to give everybody in the Period Place whānau. And thank you to everybody
to all of you
who's joined us for the last 8 episodes. This is the final episode for us. For now.
For season 1.
We had a lot of people from all sorts of walks of life, and I feel so privileged that we got to speak to them, because I feel like, I got to go on my own journey along with you guys, and I got to learn a lot. And
in this year, when we had episodes delayed from lockdown, we had episodes delayed from insane traffic jams.
Oh yeah.
We had the most incredible guests. We had people calling in from around the country. The feedback that we've had personally, we've had people write into the show saying that they heard you on My FM and that's why they've tuned into it. We've had our producer team down on holidays with their friends talking about how much it's meant to them and how much they've learned. And it's just, every social media post we've put out, people have commented and gone, holy shit, I didn't know this stuff existed.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
But in saying that, although I feel like we've gone and we've touched a lot of different topics, we're only scratching the surface.
And even the topics that we did talk about this season, we only scratched the surface of them.
Exactly. So I can't wait to hopefully in the future delve into it a little bit more. But just thank you so much for coming on the journey with us and just being a part of this whole little movement, I guess. Ooh, I feel like a little bit powerful. Yeah. But also, if you are a parent or teacher or and we actually have a little educational version that's coming next year.
Yes, we do, in early next year. So we've taken all the good stuff from every episode. Not that the shit chat isn't good too,
but it's a little bit jarring though for some people.
It can be, and there are some topics in here. Well, every topic we wanted to get across to younger audiences, but we wanted to get it across to them in a way that parents and educators could share it with them. And this podcast, This Way, hasn't been for that. It's been for a certain type of audience. So what we've done with our incredible production team, Blue and Ginge, is we've actually edited down every episode to be about half the length of what it is, and it's just the nuts and bolts of the episode that kids need to know, and we're going to be launching that next year as an educational resource, and we're going to be sending it out available. It's going to be free, available for every school, every parent, anybody who wants it. It'll be on our website, and it will also be on the Warehouse website. So keep an eye out on our Instagram for when we're going to be launching that in the new year, sometime in January.
So think of it as like a little snackable version of what we're already giving you. So we're giving you the full 5-course meal. 5-course meal. I didn't even know that existed. I just made that off the top of my head. But this is just like a little snackable version, just like morning tea, your interval. Yeah. And that'll be great for a younger audience. So that is coming in the new year, and we're so excited for that.
So excited. It's an opportunity for parents to be able to launch into further conversations with their kids. It's an opportunity for teachers and educators to be able to make lesson plans around. It's just meant to be the start, but it gives you something to start on with every episode that we have, the basics, gender, nutrition, etc., so that you can explore those topics with the kids around you and give them a depth of period information that they really need to know.
100%. Well, I guess that's us.
I'm going to miss you.
Oh, I know. I'm going to miss you too.
Have a great summer.
Have a great summer. Honestly, Merry Christmas, everyone. Mere kirihi mete.
Yes.
If you don't celebrate Christmas, that's cool. Just have a great summer.
Wear sunscreen.
Have some R&R. Try not to skip your period if you're on the pill or whatever. I know I actually started taking the pill just so I could skip it for festival season, but
that's all right. That's you.
I
do
shouldn't.
What you want.
I should just be like, I'm having it.
Well, that's the beauty of having a period in 2020 and 2021. You can do whatever you bloody want with it.
Your body, your choice.
Yep.
do your thing. But love you guys. Thank you so much for coming with us on this journey, and we'd love to hear from you. You can reach out to us on The Period Place on Instagram. You can also find me on Instagram at Teganyorwarth, TEGANYORWARTH. You can come listen to My FM. That's my show. Come listen to My FM.
How do you spell My FM?
MAI_FM on Instagram, 88.6 if you're in Tamaki Makaurau, but you can go onto online, myfm.co.nz if you want to find your frequency.
All right, we'll catch you on mine.
Yeah. All right, that's us. See you later.
See you later.
The Period Place Podcast.
Thanks to our mates at You by Kotex.
Find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at The Period Place. Hosted by Danica Revel and Tegan Yarworth. Special aroha to Sarah Mickelson. Produced by Carl Thompson and project managed by Heidi Thompson, both from Blue and Ginge Creative.